Fear of making mistakes is what stops people in their tracks when they're trying to branch out to start something new. Whenever we get past the point of being new at something and just begin to learn how to do it, we tend to forget about the countless difficulties and failures that we've had along the way that got us to where we are now. If we let these feelings take over, we can begin to lose our sense of adventure, and rather than keeping with something when we're beginners at it, we tend to bounce around from thing to thing, never really getting past the initial phase of failure. And beyond the first phase is a world of new possibilities that can be opened up by relentlessly trying to attain whatever your goal is. The first step is to accept the failures. Once you accept that you're not the best at the new activity you're trying to do, you can begin to learn from your mistake. And this is the process that I went through on my trip boating with Hunter. While we were boating, both me and Hunter were trying different tricks on the kneeboard with me and him on the wakeboard. And Hunter started his way trying to get himself to do a 360 while holding onto the rope on the wakeboard, and let's just say he had a rocky start. But while he was getting more comfortable at turning the way that he needed to go, he slowly began to work his way up to doing a 360. And the slow progress helped in his proficiency at wakeboarding and grabbing the rope from behind his back. While Hunter was working on perfecting his wakeboard 360, I was watching and thought it might be cool if I tried standing up on the kneeboard. And now, obviously, since the name of the board literally tells you the way that it should be used, I think you can imagine how that ended up going for me. And so after a few attempts, I decided to simmer down a bit as my foot was getting torn up from doing that, and I stopped trying to stand up on the kneeboard. But later in the same day of boating, Hunter ended up getting really close to doing a 360 and almost got it. And when we're getting towards the end of our boating day, Hunter got himself a good stretch of wakeboarding and finally did a 360. After hours of trying and fall after fall, Hunter was able to do a 360, and it was really cool to see him finally be able to do it. And after that, he went on to get even better at it. And a little bit after that, in the same day, Hunter actually helped me to start wakeboarding, as I hadn't even tried it before, and from watching him, it actually looked pretty fun. So I got up on my first try on the barefoot boom and had a little bit of fun there, and then decided to try it out on the rope. And with the rope, I was actually able to get up and started getting better at it, and eventually figured out how to stay up for a little while longer before we were done for the day. But it took me multiple times and lots of failures and falls before I got to that point of being able to actually get up and figure out how to stay up for a little bit longer. And then a week later, we ended up going boating again and made some serious progress. And when I went wakeboarding this time, I was able to control myself a bit better, and I was actually able to stay up for a few minutes longer than before. And with Hunter, he ended up doing another couple 360s on the wakeboard and got a lot better at it. And by the end of the day, he actually got super good at doing 360s. But for me though, this was the day that I started to get really good with kneeboarding, and rather than just coasting back and forth on the board or trying to stand up on it for that matter, because that was a very bad idea, I decided to try what Hunter was doing on the wakeboard and on kneeboard to do a 360 myself. And instead of just, continuing trying to stand up, I learned that trying to do that was a very bad idea, and the failures brought me on a different route to starting a slightly different thing, which was doing 360s. So I began experimenting, and after multiple failed attempts, I actually was finally able to get a hang of things, and I actually went backwards, and I got pretty good at going backwards and went for like 10 seconds at one point, but I couldn't actually flip myself the other way around and ended up falling. And then a few hours into the day, I finally did my first 360 on the kneeboard. And from watching Hunter's 360s, I saw how he handed himself the rope behind his back, and I was able to successfully do the same with the kneeboard. And I got even better at doing 360s as the day went on, and once I got a little more practice, I was even able to get myself to do multiple in a row. And after barely holding on after my second 360 and trying to do a couple more times, I ended up falling again, and that was the end of the day. We went back home. But the point is, well, it took me and Hunter many attempts and lots of failures in order to get to where we are now in wakeboarding and kneeboarding. When you're willing to try and try again, you can unlock your potential. And even with just trying to stand up on the kneeboard for me, if I wasn't trying to do that, I wouldn't have figured out that it was a bad idea. Then after doing that, I looked and saw that Hunter was doing a 360, and then rather than being like, oh, I can't stand up on the board, so I probably can't do a 360, I took the challenge and decided to do a 360 and try it myself. So I challenge you to try something and try again at it. Don't just leave it there, but try and try again multiple times until you completely fail at it. Clearly not something you should be doing. Or if you really value what you are doing, keep on trying, and eventually you will be able to do whatever you put your mind to. So try now and regret never.